through it a few times as we go over these next weeks. And then by the time when I say something, it's not like, oh, I never heard that before. It's like, oh, that makes sense now. Like, so that we are in it together, because you may like or dislike the things that I say, but the reality is they will only last as long as you remember them or YouTube decides to keep them on their servers. Meanwhile, this has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years and always changes lives. So if we just take a minute, open it up, read a little bit of Ruth. And it helps that as we jump into Ruth, Ruth is a story. Like when you read it, you will notice that the vast majority of everything in those chapters is dialogue. It's not some sort of exposition of things going on. It's not explaining history. It's not going through all these details. It's one person talking to another person and another person talking to another person. That it genuinely is a story that is passed down through the generations, and then we read it today. Where we've been, last week we only covered a really short portion of chapter 1. And when we looked at that, we kind of talked about that there was a man named Elimelech, and he had a wife, Naomi, and 2 sons, and something happened where there was a famine, whether that be struggle from a drought or things going on, just natural causes, or possibly I suggested the Midianites come up from the south and take things away. So we are in the time of the judges, and it's like things go good for a little bit, and then they go bad, and then they go good, and then they go bad. But the general trend is they go good, and then they go bad. And it's not an upward trend of good and bad, but God sends a judge, a deliverer, and things just continue to find their way down, and everybody just does what they want. There was no king. It is the kind of the setup for the incoming monarchy with Saul and David and the rest. But during that time, things are not good, and it gets so bad that Elimelech decides to move his family to Moab, which is across the Dead Sea from Bethlehem. Bethlehem being the house of bread, the place where we know that it is somewhat fertile. We know that there are animals that are there, and yet it was better to go to a land that they were not supposed to be. Like, here is a family living in, you can't kind of underscore this enough. It's not directly spelled out in the beginning, but this is the promised land. Generations have paved the way for them to be there, and Elimelech goes, it's getting kind of rough, we better go somewhere else. Now, we don't know all the details. Maybe that was a really hard decision for him. Maybe it was an easy decision. Either way, it was not the right decision. God led them somewhere. This is going to be your place. And he decides to go to a land that he should not go, a place that he should not be. He goes, his wife comes, the sons, eventually he dies, eventually the sons get married and the sons die. And then we're left with this kind of struggle that we've all can kind of go, within almost every great story there is tragedy. And that can be a place where we can overlap and find ourselves, that there are times in our lives where things just seem really, really bad. Before it can get better, we have to dig in and go, what is really going on here? And so we get into the actual story. Here we've got the historical part of what leads up, but then we get to the story where we actually find the family that continues on after Elimelech. I'm going to jump in at verse 6, and we'll read through the end of the chapter because it kind of closes out at the end, almost like you could read this as if it were a play. You could read this in a way that you could watch it on a TV screen and see it kind of play out. And the very last line of this chapter is almost like one of those where you go, and commercial break. So that's where we're going to pause. You'll see it when we get there, and I'll give you just a little bit of comment along the way as I read through the scripture, and then we'll get to kind of some more, how does this really apply to us? Chapter 6. Now when Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home. So here we see Naomi and the daughters are continuing on in life. The sons have passed, the husband had passed, and so it is just three ladies living in Moab. Maybe they are taking care of their affairs, maybe they are figuring out how they're going to continue on. And somewhere in the midst of their time in Moab, we don't know how long that the ladies have been alone, they hear. Naomi gets word from back in Israel that Bethlehem has food again, that the Lord has shown up again. This is probably one of those cycles in the Judges where things were bad and now they're starting to get better. Verse 7. With her two daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Here what you need to underscore is everybody's going back. She leaves there with her two daughter-in-laws, and they're all going to go back to Israel. Verse 8. Then Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." So here, what I would kind of gather from this is we don't get all the details in the story, but you can imagine the three of them making their way back on the journey. And I showed you the map last week where most likely what they did is they went from Moab kind of across the Dead Sea and went up around the sea towards Jericho and then back down towards Jerusalem and eventually Bethlehem. That as they begin that journey, the three of them are walking along and suddenly Naomi's like, no, you got to go back. And you can read over that real quick. But the last time she took this journey, there were people with her. So the last time, approximately 10 years earlier, she leaves her home with her husband and her two sons, and now she's making that journey. Most of y'all can kind of grasp this of the feeling, or here's how you know that you start to get that nostalgic feeling is, if you have ever had a person that is older than you that you had to pick up, maybe you were younger. I remember picking up grandma and like you start driving along and they're like, "Whoa, you know who used to live there?" And they start talking about all the different houses on the section. If you're at that stage, you're definitely old. Like if you start driving along, I even have that moment where like we'll be driving along in town and I'll be like, "Oh, you used to have a house there. That's a neighbor over here." Like you start saying things and the person riding with you is like, Okay. That's nice. Do you know they use... I don't know who you're talking about. Like, we all have this moment because there's a nostalgic value that happens when we're traveling along. And so you can imagine Naomi with her two daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, and they're walking back, and the last time that she had walked there, she came in with her family. And so now, every moment along in the journey is a place where maybe they stopped along the road and they're going to have a little something to eat or drink. And the last time she was there, she sat there with her two sons and her husband. And eventually it gets to be so much that she's like, "Go back. Go back. You can't do this with me." So it's not just a short little paragraph in the story, but it's something that when you start to piece all of these little things together, you go, "Oh, I could see that." I mean, I drive past my grandparents' old house, and I'm like, it doesn't look anything like it used to. The barns are all gone. The house is there, but all of the things that you remember that were there, the nostalgic stuff, really you go, it's just kind of a shell of what was. And so she makes her way with these two women and decides, you can't. Go home, find another husband. Then she kissed them goodbye and wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." So here, this is one of those things where like you almost feel like somebody from a movie kind of wrote it out. Like you read over it quick and you go, "Oh, they hugged and she kissed him and they were crying." And she's like, "Go back." And they're like, "No, we're not going back." And so Imagine that moment where like the tears are kind of trickling down and there's a little bit of the snotty stuff in here where like, because you hold some tears back and it runs down and she's like, you just have to go back. And they're like, no, we're not going back. And then this is the Midwestern way. Like you have to deny what has been given you at least once, if not twice. Like, hey, I'd really like you. Oh, no. Right? Somebody offers you something, and you're like, no, I don't need that. And then they offer it again, and you're like, well, I really wanted to say yes, I'll do that. That's where the story goes. She kissed them goodbye and wept aloud, and they said, we will go back with you to your people. And then verse 11 turns the story again. But Naomi said, return home, my daughter. She already said go back, and now she's saying it again. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have more sons who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No. My daughters, it is more bitter for me than you because the Lord's hand has turned against me. Here we see a little shift of maybe something that's a little confusing, but not as confusing, is they have to go from Moab, they are Moabites, and then go to a land where they're not supposed to marry Hebrew people. They're told not to do that. They happen to have Hebrew husbands before in the land of Moab, but now going back, that's not going to work out well. And there was an idea that some of y'all grasp this already because you go to one side of the family reunion and you see the people around, and then you go to the other side of the family reunion and a lot of the people are the same people. No? Yeah? Uh-huh. Because within the nation of Israel, there is, it's called Levirate marriage, but the reality is that's just kind of a Latin phrase that we kind of go into, but it means like, we'll see this play out further as we go through the book of Ruth, but the idea is not so much I marry you because I love you, I marry you because things were arranged, but I marry you to continue the family line. I look at this and go like, my gramps was an only child. I remember looking through the paperwork in his safe where he kept like 3 different times tried to go and join the military so he could fight, and they kept turning him away. No, you don't have any, there's nobody else after you, so you have to stay. Here we find something similar where what Deuteronomy kind of specifies is someone that is the closest relative could then, and this gets weird for us, but not weird for them, where if your husband dies, she can marry the brother. Now, it's not entirely uncommon, actually, here in the Midwest, where it's like, I've actually heard stories where one spouse dies and then they actually marry the spouse of their sibling. That we have something of this to a certain degree. But the idea was, here is your allotted land. This is your portion that the Lord has given you, and we want you to have somebody there, that someone can come after you. Someday when they kind of go through the Eberlein line of things, I have no male biological children, and so at some point they're going to go, Ken Eberlein, and you see like that 23andMe or Ancestry.com, and then the next line down below will be Kishmar Eberlein, and they'll go, whoa, what happened here? We don't understand. The idea was that the name and the family and the line would be able to continue. So we get this kind of family line preservation. We get the hugging and the kissing and please go, and they say no, and then she comes back and she's like, I can't offer you anything. You need to go back. And verse 14, at this they wept aloud. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, and Ruth clung to her. Look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. Here is the moment where she gives the option, where after the 2 times, which is culturally appropriate for us to say, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Finally, Orpah's like, I always wanted to go. I'm going back. And Ruth clings, that she stays close. She's not going anywhere. And Ruth replies to her, and this is kind of the part where we all have kind of, if you've ever read through or heard any devotions from the book of Ruth, that kind of sticks. Do not urge me to leave you or turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you from me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. This is the moment where she realizes she's not just coming along to be nice, not out of some sort of obligation, but she truly wants to come along. So as the story continues, the 2 women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them, and the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" Now, keep in mind, this is Bethlehem. It's not a huge, booming metropolis. It's not enormous. I think we've talked about this before around Christmas time, that Jesus is born in Bethlehem, and then King Herod goes to kind of kill all of the little boys that are of a certain age and under, and we go, oh, that's atrocious. But remember, the population level is small, and so that number is very small, and it's not killing of mass children. It is a few, if that. And so here we find, just like small town George, Iowa, there are even moments where, like, I'll go uptown to the grocery store and I can kind of feel that, like, I walk past and I'm looking for something to eat, and you'll see somebody like kind of peek down the aisle, like, that kid never lie. I think that's him. He's got a thing on his face now. And that we have that kind of whisper dialogue where, like, somebody shows up in town and, oh, is that? Yeah, it is. Exact same thing. Naomi shows up with Ruth. They're walking into town. They're probably going back to wherever their closest relatives are. And people in the square start to say things. Oh, did you hear that? Naomi's back. The last time they saw her was 10 years earlier, and she had a husband and 2 sons, and she was going somewhere she wasn't supposed to go. And now she's back. Naomi responds to them, and so they must have had a moment of, oh, hey, how have you been? Don't call me Naomi, she told them. Call me Mara. Because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune among me. Now here, I don't like to jump into the names and the meanings and all that stuff, but Naomi draws it directly out. Her name means delight. Technically, my delight. And then she comes back to the land that she left, and she's like, no, don't call me Delight. I'm not delightful anymore. I am bitter. Mara means to taste gross in your mouth, that it is a bitterness. Here we see that even through all of the 10 years and the ups and downs, that bitterness has kind of found its way in. And she's confronted with that even more so when she stands in front of her hometown. The people that she once knew, the way that they saw her leave is not how she comes back. And then the scene closes, just like in a movie or on a TV show. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. End close of scene. Now, in order to kind of explore some of this, I need a volunteer. And you have to be able to eat, which I know almost all of you can do. I can't let my children be the ones that volunteer all the time. Why? Because Because that makes all of them lazy. Okay, fine. I need you to look out there and go, shame on you.
Shame on you.
You could come up too. Okay, I need you to tell me, you can't have anything back there. Here, come and stand over here. This is a chocolate bar. Now some of y'all are like, I saw Miss Cleo and go, shoot. It's just normal old chocolate, and you're going to need to take your retainer out. Because you're going to get to taste a little snacky snack. Oh, yeah, here. Put it in here. Just spit it out. Now go give that to your mom. What you don't know is Jenny chews a lot of gum, and then she puts it on the top of her water bottle. And she won't even let me tell the story before she defends herself. So there is little things of gum everywhere in our house. On the cup. Okay, on the cup. Okay, yes. Okay, this is a piece of chocolate. Go ahead and eat it. How is it? Yeah? Okay, chew it up. Explain to them what it tastes like. It tastes like chocolate. This is why I needed a little more educated palate for you up here, so that this would go a little bit smoother. So it's just chocolate. It tastes good though, right? Okay. It's kind of sweet. Yeah, it is kind of sweet. Okay. Here's another piece of chocolate. Did you finish the other one? Yeah? No? Okay, chew it up. Clear your mouth out. Okay, now try that piece of chocolate. It tastes what? Bitter? It does? Like your I made the coffee. It's not too bitter. It's pretty good. Are there any chocolate connoisseurs in the room? You don't like the second one? It's just regular chocolate. Okay, still, same old chocolate. You didn't know that you were going to get lots of snacks today, did you? Okay, you have to come over here so that people can watch you eat. Okay, try that one. Good? Yummy? Horrible? But it's chocolate. It is bitter. It is dark chocolate. I'm waiting until you finish it. You volunteered. You volunteered. You said you wanted to do it. And I said, no, I don't know that you want to do it. That was such a fake. Oh, there we go. Okay, give him a round of applause. Now, this would have gone a lot better if some adult person could actually come up here. You see, the first chocolate bar that I have right here is good old milk chocolate. Right? Not the semi-sweet, but like milk chocolate where you go, that's good. And then the second one that I have right here is 72% dark chocolate. Now, this is where it's like still a little bit of, chocolatey taste and then a little bit of dirt. Like if you've ever had dark chocolate, like it's like that cacao powder. They mix it in with a little bit of like the dust from the ground and they kind of put it in and then they sprinkle just a little bit of sugar in there and you're like, it's not bad, but it's not good either. And then you find your way to the good old 90%. I've got a buddy at the gym that will sit in the sauna and we do fasting things together and we're talking. He's like, oh man, I just love that dark chocolate. Like them 90, 100% bars, I just eat those like because they have way lower sugar. And I'm like, yeah, no, Like for me, I'm not a big milk chocolate person, but like the 72 is about the limit. They have to go get a drink. Is about the limit that I can do. But what you find is you get a little bit of something and it's good, and then you get a little bit of something, you're like, it's kind of bittersweet, and then you get all the way to the 90% and you're like, it's just bitter. But it's kind of ironic that Cora talked about the coffee, because if you drank, how many of y'all drink coffee outside of church? And do you enjoy church coffee or do you just simply drink it? There's a lot of you that just drink it where you're like, it's warm, it'll be fine. That there is kind of something where you can have it and it's like, it's fine. And then you get something that's maybe coffee that you like at home and you've kind of got it down and it's probably a little bit darker than what you get here. And you're like, oh, this is a lot better. I really like that. And then you would come along and you would drink somebody's coffee like mine, where I like something that is a very dark roast. Like where they've burned the outside of it just a little bit, and so you make it and you take a little sip and you're like, and it's a little bit bitter. But you know what? I started with, I couldn't stand coffee. I had to drink tea as a little boy out on the farm, and my cousins would make fun of me. Mr. Tea Drinker drinking his tea. That's my cousin said that to me, literally. I'm scarred for life for this. Meanwhile, they sat there with like 3/4 cup of milk with a little bit of coffee in it, and then eventually you get to the place where now I just like, if I go and order coffee, I want dark roast, nothing. I want black coffee. And if I'm a little leery of the coffee, then I'll get what's called an Americano, which is really just the espresso beans that they kind of put into a little shot and then they pour some hot water in it. Little by little, you can get to the place where the bitterness is like, that's just right. For those of you, almost always it's the ladies that have embraced the 90% dark chocolate cacao dirt bar. Like, I don't know how you got there, but I understand it. Now, why would I talk to you about chocolate and coffee or any of these things? Because what we see from the story, because it is a genuine story, that Naomi leaves. Naomi is home with her husband and her 2 sons, and times are really, really hard. And eventually her husband says, we're going to have to go. And a little seed is planted inside. And she makes her way with her husband and her sons, and they find a new home. And things start going along pretty well, and then her husband dies, and suddenly that seed, like a little science experiment in school where you take the seed and you put a little wet paper towel in there, and all of a sudden you see just a little boom, just a little something starts to shoot out. And then she gets to the point where one son finds a daughter or finds a wife, and the other one finds a wife, and what should be kind of a joyous moment is also a really bittersweet moment, because these are not the women that you're supposed to marry. And so it's good, but it's also bad, and she's kind of conflicted and torn, and that bitterness starts to come in and shrink in, and eventually it starts to dig some roots down on the inside. And then she buries one son. And then she buries another son, and those roots begin to wrap around until it brings forth leaves and fruit. All of bitterness. And it didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't something that she just chose along the way, but little by little it sinks in and it begins to burst forth. Until the journey home, going back, she hears of things going on back with her family. She makes her way along the journey and begins to see all of those little memories. That while she has the leaves and the fruit and it looks like there is something growing and it might be good, that bitterness begins to do what bitterness does. Eventually, old memories become horrible memories. Moments along the road, an empty table chair, moments rather than thinking of the goodness that happened before begin to be triggers that tell us of the things that we don't have. Rather than moments of blessing along the way, it becomes a memory of something that we can't have anymore, that it's gone, that God took it from us. And so what do? What's wrapped around inside, what's showing leaves is burst forth. Eventually, those leaves begin to get hard and frail. That fruit starts to fester and rot. And the only way for us to cope, the only way for Naomi to cope is to go, just get away. Everybody has to leave. Because as much as I don't like the bitterness, I do kind of like the bitterness. And if I'm going to move on, the only way that I can do that in life is you have to go away. And she pushes everyone out. Because you can't let anybody stick around where it's festering and rotting. Now here's where we get to the overlap. I have to assume that as we go through this, that whether it's in the room or online or on the television set, that there are some of you that are in that place where bitterness has kind of weaved its web all around inside, and the moments that used to be joyful, they're just not anymore. That there's a hurt, a pain, a loss, a something in there that no pill, no bandage, no salve, no ointment, no oil, no nothing is going to make it go away. You find moments where you can numb that pain just a little bit, but ultimately it's continuously there. And the way that you can cope is to just push everybody out and stay in that place. Or it's possible that you are in the bittersweet moment. The moments where you have good days and bad days, but it's a lot easier to see the bad than the good. It's a lot easier to let a moment in the day ruin the whole day, and then the day into the night, and the night into the week. It's a lot easier to watch TV and become horribly cynical about all of the things going on. Or maybe you're neither one. You're not in a place of bitterness. You haven't pushed anybody away. You're not in the middle somewhere where you're still wrestling through and the roots haven't quite set in, but you're on the outside and you are watching and you can see someone that you care about, and you see day by day the smile on their face becomes more and more fake. Most of the world doesn't notice, but you can see it. Here's where we find that the story of Ruth and Naomi is one that is truly real for us. Not just the moment that we can all empathize and say, yes, with the beginning of chapter 1, there is tragedy in life, and we can see that all around. But in the reality of day by day, we can see the progression over the 10 years that bitterness becomes more and more and more of who we are. Almost like a little cancer spot somewhere in your body. That if we were to stick all of us through the tube, we're going to find something along the way. I mean, that's the reason that they don't do full body scans. They're like, well, you probably all have a little something that's not supposed to be there. But eventually that little something decides to go from being a little something to a big something. And it didn't just happen like that. Here we can find that place where, like Naomi, little by little, what was sweet became bittersweet, became bitter. And we don't want to get to the place where bitter is okay. Because it begins to shade and skew and just, it's a pair of glasses that you put on that you don't ever take off, and that's just how you begin to see the world. That's what you begin to see on your telephone. That's what you desire to watch. That's what you want to read. That's how you view relationships. You talk to people, and the first thought isn't the positive. It's always, well, I knew they'd do that. Or maybe not. And yet what we find is all the way at the beginning, in that place where Naomi is in Moab with her two daughters-in-law, trying to figure out how she's going to move forward, just another little seed got planted in there. Maybe you didn't catch it. She heard that the Lord had showed up back in Bethlehem. She just heard it. Just a little something. While the bitterness is running rampant on the inside, she heard something and she began to put her feet forward. And as she gets to the place where she tries to push everybody away, we get the line. I'll paraphrase. Ruth simply says, I won't leave you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Where you die, I will die. Your God will be my God. If you're worried that I'm going to leave you too, I'm not. And suddenly the bitterness gets checked. Now let me give you an example of how this kind of plays out in real life. After my dad died out on the farm and I had the oddity of how do you have Christmas 2 days later, and then how do you have a funeral a few days later, and then I just packed up my stuff and went to Chicago and lived with my cousins and my aunt and uncle, and eventually it was the moment of, I still remember my Aunt Deb is like, you know, Kenny, if you're going to stay here, we're going to have to start working with, like, you're not as old as the older boys, and so you have to have a real curfew. You can't just stay out with them all night long, and you need to go back and get some of your clothes and stuff for school, and it's like, okay. And I remember coming back to the farm, and my bedroom was way upstairs in the top, and I came sauntering down the steps, you know, like, but it's like 78 steps all the way to the bottom. And they're like 10 times louder than that, and you get to the door. That why my gramps, a farmer, can oil any possible thing. He never oiled that door so that if I ever snuck in or out, he would hear it. That's the reason. I did the exact same thing to my son. Like, I would go through and like lube every single joint in every other room in the house, but his bedroom door was always going to be like, so I knew. Tangent. Anyway. I get down to the bottom, and I'm this little 15-year-old kid, and I'm kind of going through the cabinets, you know, looking for something. Like, have you ever had that moment where you want to have a real conversation with somebody, and they're just going about their day? Yeah, I have this with my children sometimes, where I'm going through the cabinets looking for something to eat and looking in the refrigerator, and I think I put something in the microwave, and my gramps was sitting down at the chair, and he's like, Kenny, you want to take a seat? And I'm like, sure. I sit down, and it's kind of that moment where, like, you're kind of numb to everything in life, and it's like, sure, okay. And I sit down, and I remember he looked at me, and my grandma was over there, and he goes, how would you like to make the farm your home? I was like, yeah? Because I thought I was going back to Chicago. And then he said the thing that changed it. Because me and your grandma would like to take care of you. Now, at the time, you just go, oh, okay. Because it doesn't really sink in. The little seed of something is in there, but it hasn't quite grown to the place where now as a grown adult, I go, you are at the point in life where you should have no more children. You are at the point in life where you should go and live down south for like months and months out of the year. You are at the point in life where you should buy some fun stuff. My Gramps was never going to be like a Corvette type of guy, but he should have done something. Instead, he became the guy that pulls you out of the ditch multiple times. Instead, he became the guy that drives around in the countryside looking for his grandson that got ran away by the police. Instead, he's the one that I called him and I was like, I'm in the police station in Sheldon. If you don't come and get me, they're going to take me to like Primgar or somewhere, and so that's going to be farther. And he's like, when my program's done. But that was not how it was supposed to be. The point I'm getting at for us is we can be or know people that go from a little bit sweet to the little bittersweet in life, where we start to eventually skew our perspectives until we get all the way into the dark chocolate of life and we're like, this is just how it is. This is so good. I really like it. Until we convince ourselves that it really is that way. That things are really that bad. And then eventually the only place for us to go when we get so bitter is to push everybody else away because they remind us that there is possibly something better. As we dig into Ruth, we will begin to see how she steps in and says, I won't go anywhere. We begin to see that little seed of hope can grow into something that they would have never, ever imagined. And if that can happen for them, it is a story that shows us that that can happen for us. Let's pray. Father, may your words ring true in our hearts and minds this morning. May we leave here with a moment that we can remember beyond today. A glimpse of a hopeful future, a acknowledgement of the struggle of bitterness. I pray that if someone is struggling in that area, that you would banish that completely, that you would let the light come into the darkness, that the dawn would shine brighter than they have ever imagined, that you would help them to view the possibilities and the power of love and hope. I pray that if there are people in our lives that we could be like Ruth and step in and say, hey, I am here. If there is someone struggling, that you would bring forth someone that you have already prepared to step in and say, you are not alone. And in all of it, Lord, I pray that you would continue to amaze us with your possibilities. In your name, Jesus. Amen. If you would stand and sing our closing song with us, number 634, Oh, How I Love Jesus. writer of the Hebrews, see to it that no one fails to obtain the grace of God, and that no root of bitterness springs up and causes trouble, and by it many become defiled. But may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, His love may abound. Amen, y'all. Chapter 2 next week.